I've made a video about the Colorado fan base, and I have different elements in there, different things that I'm talking about, how different people see different things, and how the fan base is slightly divided right now. I think there's a multitude of things happening within this space. And I think because of that, we're a little divided on a lot of different things. I think a lot of people, depending on who you ask, will think certain things of this team and will have certain opinions. But one thing I do want to say is there's a lot of things that are happening within the Colorado fan base that I just wanted to talk about because I have opinions. And as you can tell on my channel, I always have a wide range of opinions about different things. But it's so fascinating to me sometimes just like taking a step back and not listening or not being a part of anything, listening to like different channels, watching on Twitter, talking to people like in my personal life, you know, with text messages and stuff like that. Even people at work, like hearing different people's perspectives, even my students. I have students, believe it or not, that like talk to me about like what it's like to live in Colorado pre-Coach Prime and now that Coach Prime's there. So it's like all in my life right now. There are so many Colorado things happening, and it's so fun for me to talk about it because it's such an interesting dynamic for me. And I love trying to like make sense of things or to try to understand things or to try to put more meaning behind things. And so I just wanted to make this video to talk a little bit about what I'm seeing of the landscape of Colorado. I have my trusty iPad where I've like taken notes, and I have some things to say. And the funny thing is this actually started because in one of my classes, a student mentioned a problem that was happening in their city, and they happen to live in Boulder. And so one of the issues they were saying that's happening in their city is they realized like before when they lived in Boulder, if they wanted to go to like fancy restaurants or things like that, like making reservations was easier for them to do. And now, now Coach Prime is there. And so she mentioned like just how busier it was. She was like, although I like how busy it is, although I like people want to be here, she's like, there's a lot of things that happen now that didn't used to happen before. And so when she started to say that, like we had like a whole discussion board just about like her experiences and things like that. And so it led me to just like think through a couple of things that I wanted to talk about because I think it's interesting. And so for me, one of the things I'm really fascinated with Colorado is there's an echo chamber. And I don't want anybody to take the word echo chamber to mean a bad thing. But what has happened is I've realized because there's this echo chamber of information that comes out of Colorado, once it's put out into the world, it almost disperses and everybody kind of like takes it and does its own thing. And because of the echo chamber it sets in, most people usually stay within their thought process because they're already in that echo chamber of watching the team. And so the reason why I say that is think about the people that you subscribe to, think about the YouTube channels that you're watching, think about the videos that you're clicking on, think about how you review Colorado content. And so the way that you review Colorado content will set up that echo chamber for you. So who you're liking on Twitter, what things you're liking on Instagram, what YouTube videos you're watching, all these different things impact how you're seeing certain things and the things that you will see, because in some ways we all live in an echo chamber of life. Because that is what really algorithms means, is that algorithms create an echo chamber. So they create things that you like. For example, the other night I accidentally clicked on like a noise cancellation thing. And so I clicked on it and I watched it for probably all of 7 seconds. After I clicked out of that, I got back into YouTube like a couple hours later, and guess what was showing up? A bunch of different noise cancellation things. So I had the beach, I had the rainforest, I had all of these different things that started to come up and pop up for me because I was in that echo chamber. And so when I say echo chamber, I'm not saying it's like a terrible thing or like, how dare you be so caught up in like this way of information. But an echo chamber of information is where we're at. That's where we're existing. That's where we're getting our information from. The other thing I find interesting with this fan base is the difference between Deion Sanders and Coach Prime. So the difference in how people address the head coach is interesting to me. For some reason, anytime somebody says Deion Sanders, something in me triggers. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't like it when people call him Deion Sanders when they're talking about him coaching, because he is Coach Prime. He's Coach Prime. He presents himself as Coach Prime. I think everything that he's doing is very prime. It's very prime time. It's very Coach Prime. So anytime somebody says Deion Sanders, I've noticed that like it triggers to me. And I don't know if it's just me or if other people have that experience, but I've noticed the more I lead into this space, anytime I hear somebody say Deion Sanders or Deion, I don't like it, because I feel like his name is Coach Prime. That is what we call him. His name is Coach Prime. So anytime you go away from calling a man what he refers to himself as, it's a little weird for me. And I will just kind of go down this thing and just say, like, some of you are going to get this reference, some of you are not going to get the reference, and I will back out of it. But I think the reason why this triggers me so much is because as a kid, I remember watching Roots. And if you have not seen Roots, you will not know what I'm talking about, and this analogy will make zero sense to you. But I remember watching Roots, and I remember watching them try to convince that man. And you know, if you've seen the movie, you know there's certain things I can't say because this is YouTube, but you have seen the part that I'm talking about when they were trying to convince this man to change his name, and he would not change his name. And so for me, I think that stuck with me. So when anybody has a name, that is their name. And so when anybody doesn't talk to them in that name, it always triggers me. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to say is, just because certain fans are excited about certain things or excited about certain people or excited about certain players, it doesn't mean we all have to be excited about the player. I think some of us are watching Colorado through the lens of the other teams that we also support, of the other teams that we've also seen grow, of the other teams that we've also seen develop. And when you do that, your lens is different. And so you evaluate talent different. And so you have different expectations. So it's not, I think so many times people are like, oh, we have so-and-so and they're amazing. And then somebody comes up and they're like, okay, they're okay. It's because the lens in which some of us are seeing things might be different. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be excited. It just means that I'm seeing this differently than you. I think collectively we all want Colorado to win, but we're going to see things different, and that is okay. Yes, I'm looking down on my iPad because I could not remember all these things. The other thing I want to say is, just because you have a different opinion, it doesn't make you a hater. I will not harp on this because I said something, I went on about this for a few minutes in my other video. At the end of this video, I'll make sure I leave it so you can watch and see what I'm talking about. But having another opinion that is different from the masses doesn't make you a hater. However, what does make you a hater is if you're going to harp and harp and harp and harp and harp on something over and over and over, and it can't change right now. It's in the off season. So the harping and the constantly kind of bringing up the same thing, and the constantly like bringing up something that, like I said, can't change right now. Yes, I could see why people see that as hate, and I could see why people feel like that's not a great thing and they don't like it. The other thing I want to mention is, when you talk sports, when you talk any sport, but especially when you talk football, you talk about both sides. So a lot of people were mad at me because of like my prediction video. Well, my prediction video comes from my lens of seeing the Big 12 and me applying what I saw and then looking at it from the teams that Colorado are going to play. I think so many times in this fan base, there's a lot of Colorado fans that only look at what Colorado is doing and they're not comparing it to another team. I'm going to say this. I think Colorado is a better football team right now than they were at this time last year. And I think that this year they're going to be a better team. I will never argue that because I think that that is a fact. However, what we don't know is the level of good they're going to be compared to other talent. And I think that matters because Colorado can be 100% better than they were last year. However, is their 100% better than Kansas State? Is there 100% better than Nebraska? Is there 100% better than some of these other schools? I don't know the answer to that question. That's why I just make up predictions. However, the other thing is too, is the other team is also getting better. So whenever you just have a one-sided argument based on your team and what you see every day because you're in the echo chamber of the same information that's just feeding out to you, it's hard for you to look at this objectively and for you to see the bigger picture. And that's okay. It's just a part of this, and we have to start acknowledging that you're only looking at this from one angle. I have said many times on many platforms and on my channel, I love research. I love looking at other things and other situations and figuring out other things. And the only way you can figure out other things is to go seek out other information. If all you see every day are well-off media videos and Reach the People and Darius's channel, and then other channels that are going to give you positivity, and then other channels that are going to do all these things, yes, you are going to 100% think that Colorado is going to beat everybody, because your echo chamber of information, that's the only thing you can think, because it's the only thing you're seeing. So I just want to make a point to say, when you are analyzing sports, when you are analyzing teams, you need to look at both sides. I also just want to make this comment. I totally understand that there is a lot of film study happening right now. That's amazing. That's amazing that film study is happening. Just remember that there are 12 games in a college season. There are 12 games of film. If you played every game, there's a lot of film out there. There's a lot of things going on with these players. And I made another video about like how different teams are structured. So I get that some of us are starting to look at film. And so now you think you can analyze players, and now you think you can do certain things. And again, just because somebody rates really high in film study doesn't mean that that person is all world and all whatever. It means for that specific thing, for that echo chamber, that that person is good. We don't know what that person is going to be like against other things. And that person has ability to develop and to grow, because this is a new year. So I just want to make everybody aware, or to just give you a reminder, that sometimes the information that we're consuming, it's not all of the information that we need to make an informed decision. So make sure that you're taking time to look at other places, and make sure you're taking time to understand what's happening. The other thing I want to say is, I hear a lot of people saying, why don't you share any good news? Why don't you act like anything good is happening? Why don't you? Again, you have to remember what type of sports watcher are you talking about. There's different types of sports watchers. There's types of sports watchers that, like, I will use myself as an example. As a sports watcher, I watched the University of Texas at its peak. I watched it Valley, and I'm watching it at its peak. So when I look at things, I compare to what I have seen. I also have been watching football for probably 20 plus years. And because of that, I have a 20-year lens of what I'm seeing. So when I see something that doesn't look good or doesn't look great, it's concerning, and there isn't any good news for me to share. And sometimes it's okay, because everything isn't a good thing. This is a process. And so it's going to take time. And everybody has a different perspective and has a different lens. I just wish we could get to a point where we could hear people's opinions, understand people's lenses, and respect what they have to bring to the table. And if we could do all of that, what also happens is then you're able to communicate, and you're able to ask that person questions, because maybe that person is actually seeing something that you should see, but you just can't see it yet. Maybe they have picked up on something that you haven't seen. A lot of times what I hear people say is, I was watching Georgia, or I watched Clemson's practice, or I watched this person's thing. And when I watched that person's thing, and then I applied it back to this is what I got out of it. That's what happens when you're watching sports. And that's why there's always multiple sides of a problem. And that's why the lens and how you see things actually matters. This space is so fascinating. There's like this gravitational pull to talk about Coach Prime. Everybody does it for different reasons. Some people just love to talk football, so they will talk football. Some people like the entertainment of it all. Some people just don't understand it and they're learning, which is amazing. Some people aren't really sure what to think, and we have thoughts and we have opinions and we have things that we're thinking. And then some of us just enjoy all of this. Like, I enjoy the process. I enjoy seeing how these things develop. I enjoy kind of keeping my eye on certain things. I enjoy like figuring out what I think and making a decision on what I think, hearing what other people think, and then putting everything together and then seeing what happens. There's not a game that's going to be played for the University of Colorado until, I don't think, August 31st. So we have a long way to go and there's going to be a lot of things that happens between now and August 31st. So if you hear something negative one day, then it is what it is. Last year, Colorado was 4-8. Anytime your team has a losing season, the off season is rough. Ask a Browns fan. Ask anybody. I'm a Texas fan. It's rough. Ask anybody that has followed or cheered for a sports team that had a bad season. They will tell you the off season is always brutal, and the off season makes people be untrustworthy. The off season makes people challenge certain things. The off season will have you going in against coaches. The off season will make you whatever. And that is what happens when your team isn't good. Colorado was 4-8. So they're getting the 4-8 treatment right now. It just is what it is. I'm not saying it's right or not right, but it just is what it is. That's how the sports world works. If your team isn't good, you get all the crap for it in the off season because there's nothing else to talk about. And so you talk about it. So I just wanted to like take a minute and talk about like all of these things that I'm seeing that are happening in this space. That are getting people excited, that are getting people sad, that are getting people in their feelings, that are getting people triggered, that are getting them upset, that are getting them all these things. But I don't want to say this is normal, but on some level, whenever anybody gives you access to something, people criticize. That's how it works. That's how reality TV works. That's how it's starting to work with Colorado. People are going to criticize because they can see to criticize. In a lot of aspects, there are certain things I can't see in other spaces that I would love to see so I could criticize, but I can't see. I can't even give my thoughts because I can't see. But when you have access unfortunately comes with criticism, and that's just how it works. And I do want to say though, when August 31st rolls around and Colorado wins their first 4 games or wins their first 5 games or goes 5-1 or whatever, everything will be a little bit better because when your team is winning, it cures all. Winning cures all. It always has. It probably always will. So we just need to hope that Colorado has a great season. And we need to hope that maybe there's people inside of Colorado that are listening and watching certain things and they're picking up on tidbits of information that might be helpful because maybe somebody will say something that will help. Who knows? So I'm just saying this to say, set back. It's going to be a wild ride. We still have a few months. Listen to these, sports fans talk sports, and some of it you're going to love, some of it you're not going to love, just like you have your favorite channels, you have your channels you don't want to go to, and that's okay. But I think at the end of the day, there's so many things happening in this space that all we can really do is sit back in and choose what we want to engage with and not engage with the things that we don't want to engage with. It just is what it is. But let's hope at the end of the day, Colorado has a winning season. I said 7-5. As of today, I'm sticking by 7-5. And I hope that Colorado wins more games than they lose. And I just hope that happens because I think if that happens, you will start to see different things happening in this space. And I think the echo chamber will be an interesting place if Colorado figures out a way to win these games and a way to have a winning record. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you think I'm being ridiculous or I'm not seeing something, but there's so many things happening in this space that I'm sure that I've missed something, but it's just interesting to see how much engagement and communication and how many thoughts and like everybody has something to say. And it's kind of cool to listen to what people have to say and just take it all in and, and let it be what it's going to be. But please let me know what you think in the comments below if you want to, if you made it this far in the video. I know this is a long video. I usually don't make these long videos, sorry, but I just wanted to give my 2 cents on this Colorado ecosystem and the echo chamber we're all in and the different facets and the different things that happen because of this echo chamber.